Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hi everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and I am delighted to bring the beautiful Lisa Coletta to you today. So, Lisa is a passionate corporate governance change leader, which we will explore what that actually means because I had no idea when I met her, and that's perfectly okay. We're going to dive into that. But she's worked in both public and private sectors with a career that spans well over 2 decades, so she definitely knows what she's talking about. She's gone through advising chairs, boards, committees, managing directors, and executives on corporate governance and laying active and adaptive management approaches to aid in delivery of their business strategies. She's passionate about coaching, guiding, and providing thoughtful leadership as well from a heart space. So, feeling to see everybody exactly how they are. So Lisa holds a master's degree in management, a postgraduate of applied corporate governance from the Governance Institute, is a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors Intensive course, and she's also a certified neurolinguistic program coaching practitioner and a fellow of the Australian Institute of Company Directors, associate member of the Governance Institute. Whoa! And she's also an Australian member of neurolinguistic programming. So a big welcome to Lisa, and I'm glad I don't have to say all that again.
Thank you, Catherine. It's really great to be here.
All
Looking
right.
forward to the conversation.
So the biggest question, which once you explained it to me, everyone will understand. What is corporate governance?
Oh, corporate governance. It's a really interesting question because I find that a lot of people uh, think they know what it is and they've experienced it in slightly different ways. So everyone's answer to this question is actually correct, and it's actually about perspective. Um, Corporate governance is the way an organisation is controlled and managed, and it typically involves policies and processes and procedures around how each level of the organisation actually operates and makes decisions. And so, at the board level, they'll approve policies around how they do what they do, and every role or every level has a different type of focus. For example, boards oversight, they stand over and not do. They deliver really great insights and perspectives to support the operations of the business in delivering the board approved strategy. And shareholders are a completely strategic level. So each of these levels in the business have different ways and playgrounds, and I support each of those sort of levels in defining how and where they play. That is quite unique based on the business and the environment they're operating in. So that is what corporate governance is.
And then if people want to work with you, Lisa, they basically are going to get your beautiful heartfelt self. So those of you who can't see Lisa, she always has this beautiful, lovely glow and aura about her, which is really cool.
Oh, thank you.
And we were talking about just before we started recording that you very much want to have a heart-centered governing leadership, for your business, the governance collective, but also for every business you interact with and every individual you come across.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I find, and I've actually found in my own working life and working experience, that there's a lot of organisations out there where power is used and abused and misused quite significantly by individuals that are really ego based. And what I've found, based on my own experience in those environments, is that there are individuals with their own agendas, and they're coming from a place that isn't necessarily for the greater good of the organisation or for anyone else around them. They're very, very self-focused and self-centred. And what I find in these types of environments is that they're not happy environments. They're not environments where people enjoy coming to work every day. It's quite competitive, and it means that all of us, who are in those environments, use up a lot of energy that they don't need to around things that don't support the achievement of outcomes, both personally and professionally. And so, what I actually do is when I am invited into those environments, I help leaders get really clear on where those different roles play, what kinds of powers those roles should have, and what do those right type of humans look like to be successful in those roles. And of course, I'm always looking for alignment, really great aligned humans that are there for their own personal achievement, but also for the greater good of the organisation as well. Because in these environments, I find, Catherine, that equal and fair exchange is really, really important. And creating environments where everyone wins, including the organisation and especially the individuals working in the organisation, is really paramount for the success of everyone involved, including the commercial success of the business as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's definitely going into that corporation or organization that you're working with and allowing people to be seen, really, isn't it?
Oh, look, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we all want to work around people that we know, we like, and we trust. And trust is a really important element. And it's really hard to trust someone who doesn't feel safe enough to be their authentic selves.
Yeah,
And these environments that are really ego power based environments, a lot of people naturally don't feel safe in those environments. So they put masks on and they pretend to be someone they're not. And it's really sad for everyone involved because no one really wants to walk around not being their authentic real selves, but they don't feel safe to do it. So it's really, really hard.
and do you feel that when you walk into that culture, you can almost feel that those people don't want to be there, right?
Oh, look, you do. There's lots of different indicators. I mean, I personally feel it just in the energy when I walk into a room. And to get behind it and really understand what's been playing out or what is playing out can be quite complex because some individuals stay in those environments even though they're really unhappy and they've kind of cumulatively got this, they're carrying cumulative angst or some other term that sounds better than that, that basically means that they're, it's not just about what happened today and yesterday, they're still carrying stuff from 5 or 10 years ago. And they're still walking around with that very, very heavy burden of unhappiness and misalignment. And it takes a lot for the individual um, emotionally to carry that,
Yeah.
spiritually to carry that, physically to carry that, and it means it's a lot of unhappy people around.
Yeah, and often people don't realize how being so unhappy in your work environment then flows on to impacting your health and impacting your emotions and increasing stress without you even realizing it. It might not be your job's actually stressful, it's just the fact that you have to mask who you are.
Absolutely, it's the environment, and what it also means too is that, in my experience, whatever we're tolerating in one part of our life, we're also tolerating in other parts of our lives. So, unfortunately, it means for a lot of those individuals that they're walking into these really, really unhappy work environments. And unfortunately, sometimes that unhappiness can follow them home and they're not being the best versions of themselves at home because they're not able to be the best versions of themselves at work, and it impacts relationships and family impacts is quite significant as well. And yeah, so I'd like to think that every environment I step into, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to support the creation of environments where people are happy, their cultures are driving towards the outcomes that the business needs, but there are also individuals that are walking around in that environment and working in that environment that are totally aligned, both professionally and personally, with the goals of the business, and they all know, like, and trust each other. So it's you know, I feel it's important work. It's not easy work, but it's important work.
Yeah. And do you find once you leave, once you leave, that sounds funny, but once you leave and you've done your magic as you come in there and sprinkle your Lisa fairy dust, do you find that once you leave that culture is more reflective of what you want to see in every workplace?
Look, it does. But to be really honest with you, Catherine, it's one of those things where I find that the right types of environments where I've done this type of work, I kind of never leave. And it's not that I'm constantly there, but rather because the nature of my approach and the way I work with my clients is quite a co-creative approach. So the work that I do to support the business is actually co-created with the steward or the person that's going to maintain it internally within their environment. And so they're armed with the knowledge, skills, and experience they need to maintain what I've put in place. And when they are ready to up level um, to another level of maturity, they tend to call me back and
Beautiful.
come back in or provide that person, the steward, some coaching to support them with the delivery of their goals on an ongoing basis. So I tend to not walk away and stay away from those environments. They bring me back whenever they are ready to up level to the next level, or they want to broaden their scope around the focus of the work that we've done. So I'm really grateful to have those kind of relationships with my clients as well, because when they need me, I'm there, and when they're good and they don't need me, I'm not, which is nice. It's
which
nice
is
too.
which is a really nice fair exchange then, isn't it? It's very much like you're there to support them, not and to empower them, rather than, hey, I'm going to drag you along and hold you like a child. And it's like, no, I'm going to give you the wings so you can fly, but I'm here if you need me.
Look, I think that's absolutely right. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, when you tell people you're a consultant, people have had a lot of different experiences with consultants. There are some consulting firms out there that like to get their tentacles in and hold tight and really embed themselves into businesses and never let go. And I just happen to not be one of those consultants. Part of the reason why I actually came into this space was because I didn't want to have a permanent job in one spot. I've actually felt for quite some time that my role and that I play on this earth at this time is to share my knowledge, skills, and experience with others. And as part of that, I've also learnt, like a lot of us do, about ourselves. And for me, for what it's worth, I I'm a builder. I'm not a maintainer.
Yep.
So I don't enjoy the maintenance piece. I find it a bit boring. I'm always continually wanting to improve and up level. So I have had full time jobs where I've created great environments and then found that I just didn't feel it was challenging anymore because I'd built and I maintained to a certain level, but I'm always looking for that next level of maturity to improve and improve and improve. And for some organisations, they get to a certain level of maturity and they don't need improvement because they're operating at the level that they need to. And
Yep.
it's just, and so me dipping in and out of organisations is a perfect role and environment for me because I get to co-create with some amazing humans. And when they need me, I'm there. And as I said, when they don't, I'm
Then,
not.
yeah. And then also you're expanding your skill set too, right? You're not just feeling trapped in that one place. In fact, you're just almost abundant because you can move around and have that freedom to be where you need to be at that time.
Absolutely. And there's a level of like reusability with some of the stuff I do, but in every environment I'm stepping into, what I'm creating is bespoke. And I'm using this sort of backpack or toolkit of tools to apply it in different ways. And that's the part that I really love about my role because and the nature of the work I do, because I never know what I'm going to get. And I've always got a great opportunity to use this toolkit of mine in lots of different ways. Based on the culture of the organisation and the headspace and mindset of the leaders that I'm working with, so it's always really good stuff, really good fun, and really good stuff. And I like to think that the value that I create is ongoing and sustainable for the business because they then have individuals who are aligned to the purpose, aligned to the outcomes of the organisation, and personally aligned to their own understanding of what they feel they want to achieve personally. And when you're in environments like that, it's forwards and upwards. That whole drama cycle piece around the victim and all the rest of it tends to play out a lot less.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that person's getting a promotion over me. Maybe I should have got that. Why didn't I get that? And that negative workplace or that comparison. I know when I ran a company and I had a lot of women working together, it was amazing what they would say and do to each other, and I couldn't believe it. Like just stepping back and then trying to figure out how to shift that culture. Which at that point I wish I knew you, but you know.
Family, Catherine, family. Yeah, look, it can actually be really, really tough, especially when when the environments we create can be a little bit insular sometimes. So you're
Mm.
seeing the same people every day,
Yep.
and there's no other perspectives or insights that are being shared. And those individuals stay for a long period of time. So as soon as you start working around each other every single day for a long period of time without any external stimuli or other perspectives, it can get very, dare I say, institutionalized a little bit. And all of a sudden we're in high school again.
Yep.
And, he said, she said, and all the rest of it. I remember being in environments because in my working life, I dress like I'm in a boardroom every day because I never know where I'm going to be. Sometimes I do end up in a boardroom. And so, when you're boardroom ready, or my idea of what I feel, and I dress to please myself, like we all do, or like we all should,
Yep.
um, I, um, I walk around boardroom ready. And some females can be very triggered by that because I am, I put effort in my appearance because it's important to me. And other females can be very triggered because they may not feel that they're as put together as I may appear. And so I've definitely had that experience of the high school piece around, why are you wearing that? This is just the office. And it's like, well,
This is me.
how I choose. This is me. This is how I choose to dress. This is these are the environments that I operate in. Tend to be appropriate attire for the environments I operate in. And even though I happen to be, in a warehouse right now, it doesn't mean, in the next 3 hours I'm not going to be walking into a board meeting or with, business owners or senior directors or whatever else. So it's one of those things where I think it comes back to the individual and them knowing themselves. That saying, know thyself, is incredibly important. Holding the mirror up to ourselves is a really, really important, very therapeutic um, activity that we can do from time to time, because if we're getting triggered by others, it's actually not about them, it's actually about us.
Yep.
And to actually look in that mirror and go, well, okay, what is it about me that made me feel I needed to say something to Lisa about, that suit she was wearing today? And it's like, well, okay, I don't own suits like that, or okay, I don't, put as much effort in as Lisa, or I don't this, or I don't that. And if that's something that they want, for me, they can do it too.
Yeah.
They can do it too. I remember in one environment, Catherine, I laugh about it now so much. I actually had a colleague of mine, a peer, who I actually really liked and trusted. She must have been having a really bad day. She just wasn't herself in that moment. She turned to me and said, God, Lisa, you think you're just so good, don't you?
Oh
And
my
I'm just
goodness.
like, oh my God, I'm in high school in the playground because I just won the handball game, or, whatever it
Yeah.
was. And I got back and I went, oh, she's not being herself as well at all. And I knew I had to respond and not react, because I'm a responder, not a reactor in these environments. And, a lot of people just stopped and stared as this person said these words to me. And I actually said, yes, I do think I'm good, and you are too.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was like a smack, it was like I slapped her. And it wasn't intended to be a slap, because I genuinely think that she's an absolutely powerhouse, awesome human.
Yeah.
And do I have confidence? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm confident in what I know, I believe in. I don't have confidence in everything, because I'm not good at everything and I'm not a perfect human. But what I do know is that I know what I know and I trust what I know. And if I'm walking around confidently knowing myself and taking a good look at myself and being the best version of me that I can be in this moment, then I'm doing the best I can. And I'm not going to walk around judging anyone else if I feel triggered by someone doing a better job of that than me.
Yeah.
So I say, good on you, good on you, Catherine, good on you.
Yeah.
Um,
And sometimes it's that moment too for us to learn as humans that when people say things to us that are negative, it's often a reflection of the turmoil happening within them that they need to work with. And it's about us learning to go, oh, that's not me. I'm sending that
that's
back to you with love,
exactly right.
but you can
That's
keep
exactly
that.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just to close the story out, in case you're wondering, she and
Yeah.
I actually became really, really good
Oh,
friends,
good.
because I think that there was this sense from her that I was doing what I was doing to make me look good and make her look bad. Whereas for me, I'm an equal and fair exchange person. I want everyone to win.
Yeah.
And I don't see why everyone can't win. And my view of her, as I said, she's an absolute powerhouse, awesome human being. And I never once looked at her in any other way. And I actually, sounds terrible, but I don't look at people around how they present themselves with their clothes and whatever else. I don't judge anyone for that. I get dressed and I make decisions, and they get dressed and they make decisions. I'm not making the decisions to trigger or impact others. I'm making decisions to please myself, and I use my own judgment around that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we actually are still good friends now, in fact. So it's one of those things.
You were the light that she needed in that very moment, right? To make her
That's
stop and
right.
catch herself. Yeah.
And in case you're wondering, no, she didn't go out and buy suits for my wife. Anything like that. It wasn't actually about the clothes. I think it was actually just more about the fact that I was
Confident and owning
yeah,
yourself. Yeah.
just owning myself in that moment, and she was feeling vulnerable. And I think sometimes we can forget, especially in these big, large corporate environments, that we are actually all on each other's sides. Um, and when we are feeling a little bit low, a little bit down, instead of judging her for being whatever it was she was being in that moment, um, I was more concerned that she wasn't okay, and I was more concerned that she felt that I was doing something to her
Mm.
by me than it was actually about her not being in the space she needed to be.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I would have liked to have asked her if she just needed a hug in that moment, because I kind of felt like she did. Um, because
And at the
we
same
do.
time, you're like, I didn't know her well enough then, and that would have been
No,
awkward. But then at the same time, sometimes we don't realize how much we need human connection. I think the kindest thing someone's done for me at work was my friend's husband had passed away, and they came in for their session just after I got the news, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, this has happened." And he's like, "Can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's just what I need in that moment." That human to human connection. It's just
absolutely, without reading into it being anything more than
yeah,
less than what it is. It's just a purely innocent,
yeah,
sort of, nurturing behaviour. And in some of these environments, Catherine, because I see the power plays, I see the one-upmanship, I see these individuals that are really um, disconnected from themselves, and they're wearing masks that don't quite fit.
yeah.
So when I sit down in front of them, I see this vulnerable part of them that's kind of sliding out from behind the mask. And as soon as I give any indication that I can see that side of them, they quickly kind of tuck themselves back in behind that mask, because they feel that that's the person that they need to be. The mask is who they feel they need to be, instead of who they really are authentically.
Yeah,
And it's really sad to be in environments where people don't feel safe enough to be their real selves.
agreed.
People only need courage in an environment where there's fear. And who wants to work in an environment where they're fearful?
Yeah,
And if you're a leader creating fear in your environment, that's actually, again, an
toxic.
opportunity to look in the mirror. It's toxic. You got to look in the mirror and go, am I creating the right type of environment so that my people are healthy and happy, and we're all delivering outcomes together? And why can't we have a good time while we're doing that? There's absolutely no reason why we can't. And some of the stuff, let's face it, every job's got mundane elements to it. But at the same time, it doesn't mean we can't know, like, and trust the people around us.
That,
And we
that's
can
right. And
create great environments to do that. So,
and it's that difference between having to get up to go to work in the morning versus ready and willing and jumping out of bed because you're excited for
oh,
what you can do to the world today.
look, absolutely. And I actually, I speak to a lot of leaders, as you would expect. And I actually ask them, how do you feel on a Sunday night, knowing that you've got to go to work on Monday? How do you actually feel? Because it tends to be that Sunday night dread that really tells you that you're not in the environment that you want to be in, or the environment that you're actually aligned to. It's that Saturday night dread. I think it's one of those things too where, for some leaders, they forget that they actually have the power to change the environments that they're creating for themselves. Even if they do have tough leaders above them, it doesn't mean that they need to be tough to the people below them just because people above them are actually treating them that way.
Yeah.
They can still create safe and effective environments for their people, because they have an obligation and a duty of care to do that. And, if they're in environments where their leaders above them are tough and they're not handling that, that's a decision for them. but not an opportunity to mirror poor behaviours from above. Because leadership is a mirroring process. If you're not mirroring great behaviours, if you're not delivering great behaviours, they get mirrored to the people below you, and it just permeates a really, really sick culture. And they do say that the behaviours that we choose to walk past are behaviours we choose to accept. So the leaders really do set that tone from the top.
Yeah.
And if they're not aligned and operating the way they need to, it's not ideal for the business. And typically, those businesses don't tend to perform all that well because they're really needing to fight and work against all of that negative energy instead of leveraging all of that positive opportunity stuff. Because people tend to give more when they're happier than they do when they're unhappy. And we want environments where everyone's happy and working hard to achieve outcomes and enjoying each other and enjoying the process while they're doing it.
Yeah, and I know there's been so many studies that show a happy work environment has better outcomes, and they're not working more hours, they're not working overtime, they're just purely happy to be there and to achieve the goal and the overall vision of the company because they're involved and they feel seen and they feel equal.
Absolutely. And they feel that their contribution is so significantly valued in a way far more than the pay packet that they take home every week.
Yeah, which
You know,
is
that yeah, exactly. It's kind of one of those things where, even rewarding people around you is such an important thing because for some individuals, I had this really great example. It's quite a few years ago now. I was working in an environment where there was a sales team, and I wasn't in the sales environment. I was actually still part of the governance environment. But the leader of the overarching leader for both of the teams decided to reward me and recognise me for my performance, which was a really lovely gesture. And, he handed me this wonderful opportunity, this wonderful reward in front of the whole team. And I smiled nicely and said, thank you. I opened this envelope and it was a golf day, Catherine. It was a golf day. And it was a golf day. And I smiled nicely and, in my usual style. And back then I was a lot younger and, a lot more passive than I am active in speaking up. And I looked at that and went, wow, it was a Friday and I got to play golf all day. And I actually said to my leader afterwards, thank you so much for the gift. Do you mind if I take the day, not play the golf and stay home and clean up a couple of cupboards? Because I was working 60 hours a week and I had a very young family. And staying home without anyone there and to clean out a couple of cupboards was like the ultimate reward for me that day. And he's like, oh, you don't want to play golf? I'm like, I've never played golf in my life, and it's probably a punishment for me, not a reward. And he was absolutely dumbfounded that what he saw as a reward for him and his sales team was not actually a reward for me. It's it was actually a really great day where I got to clean out multiple cupboards.
perfect.
And I actually ended up gifting the golf day aspects. A team member of mine applied for the day off and went and played golf, and he was very happy, which is great, and so was I. So,
Beautiful.
everybody won. See, everyone won. I'm a win-win person, but please don't make me play golf. I think the highlight of the golf, but the only thing I could think of as a positive, because I always like to sort of, turn those lemons into lemonade, I was hoping that there was a golf buggy, because if I got to drive a golf buggy all day, I probably would have had a good time. That was the only part I could think of that I would probably enjoy. So, that's just me. But there you go. So I feel like it's really my mission and it's my purpose in this lifetime to go into environments and really rebalance power and authority and support beautiful humans in achieving amazing outcomes at all levels of the business. And so, that is me.
Beautiful. And Lisa, as we wrap up our time together, what is one healing thing you would love to see in the world if you could just have one change?
Look, I think the one thing I'd really love for everyone as a gift that they actually already own and possess is for them to actually tap into their intuition and trust it and act on it. Because I think all of us have the real answers to some of the things that we're suffering with right now as individuals and as a collective. And I think if everyone was able to actually really listen to themselves and have the bravery to act on it, I think the world would be a very different place. Very, very different.
100%. I completely agree. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. Well, this has been such a beautiful time. I've learnt much about what you do, which is really awesome. And I hope everyone as well sees how powerful you are going into these corporations to, change the standards and make everyone be seen and equal and make environments fair and somewhere you actually want to go every day. So, if anyone wants to find Lisa, you'll find that information in the show notes. You can go to her website or you can contact her on LinkedIn. But for now, I'm going to leave you with that beautiful message from Lisa about trusting your intuition and following really your heart and where it wants to take you. So until next time, thank you and happy listening, everybody. Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.